Good morning. It is early. I'm trying to get this video out. I've been in YouTube jail again for a week for saying things that they do not approve of. Yes, my friends, I again violated community guidelines. But you can find that latest video on rumble.com where you can practice free speech. But anyway, let's get right into this topic today, which is, why does it continue to keep coming back to this? You might ask, coming back to what? Well, right now we're going through the confirmation hearings of KGJB, Ketanji Jackson Brown, and there's a big controversy around her lenient rulings for pedophiles. Now, I had done a video way back, many videos ago, about the man who destroyed the morality of America, and that man is Dr. Kinsey. Well, there was a doctor, her name was Dr. Judith Reisman, and she dedicated her entire life to expose this pseudoscience, which has allowed these light sentences to be passed down on these pedophiles. And I'm going to share some excerpts with you from this book called Foundation, because this was the only thing that they were able to get done in regards to the damage that Dr. Kinsey had caused. Because once they start finding out these high-level elites, these foundations which were funding his projects, such as Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller Foundation, the committee was brought to a halt. See, as we have been stating time and time again, that the deep state is deep, and we have been thoroughly infiltrated. These people have been doing this for a long time. But a lot of these things that they are doing today goes back to the ancients, and I'm going to point that out. But let me just share this excerpt with you from the book called Foundations. If you want to know about why these people are like they are, such as the NAMBLA, North American Men Love Boys Club, which says sex before 8 or it's too late. And I know that's just sick, right? These people, these Kinseyites, they believe it's okay to do these things to these children. It says right here, some of these Kinseyites have said that our laws are wrong because they do not follow the biological facts. Published reports such as those of Kinsey can do immeasurable harm when they falsely pretend to disclose biological facts. A great part of the Kinsey product is without basis in true fact and is mere propaganda for some personally intriguing concepts. Now listen to this. It says, in the second volume it is stressed, for example, that we object to adult molesters of children primarily because we have become conditioned against such molesters of children, and that the children who are molested become emotionally upset, not because of what has been done to them, this is my words, but primarily because the old-fashioned attitudes of their parents about such practices, and the parents, the implication is, are the ones who do the real damage by making a fuss about it if a child is molested. So see, they see us as the bad person because we are trying to protect our children from these child molesters. And what was found out in this whole investigation when Dr. Kinsey was doing these experiments, he had all of these men, some of them even Nazis, you know, and what they were doing to these people. Not just people, these children, these babies, these men were molesting these babies, and when the babies would cry out in pain. Can you imagine a grown man try to have sex with a baby? They would say that the child was enjoying it, that the child was experiencing pleasure when the child was crying out in pain. This is how sick these people are. So when we look at these Senate committee hearings with Ketanji Jackson Brown, and we trying to figure out why this woman had all of these cases where she gave less than the sentence that was recommended for these child molesters, it is because I believe this woman has been fully indoctrinated in the pseudosciences of Dr. Kinsey. I believe they said this woman is a student of Harvard University. So ain't no telling. We see how these people think. Isn't that where Obama got his law degree? Do you remember when Mitt Romney during the debates was saying this man wants sex education taught to 5-year-olds? And Obama kind of laughed and he was like, yes, I do. Science-based sex education. Well, when he said science-based education, that goes back to Dr. Kinsey. An entire documentary, where's my, hold on guys. An entire documentary, I got a stack of books behind me and DVDs. An entire documentary was done. It was called The Kinsey Syndrome. How one man destroyed the morality of America. In this video, you will see old clips from the 1980s with Dr. Judith Reisman bringing this to the forefront on the Phil Donahue show. Your mouth will drop to the ground if you see this video. I had acquired this through Mr. Jones' store, which he has been banned from every website because he puts out the truth. He tries to inform people. But you might be able to find this book. This book goes into detail of how the propaganda, the false sciences, how the foundations and how all these things was working together to fund this man. This is how they were able to make great strides. Because there was a time, do you remember a time back when these old movies, what about the Lucille Ball show, I Love Lucy? Remember how they slept in separate beds? And now look at where we are today. They're pretty much doing soft porn on TV. Matter of fact, it done already crossed the line. It ain't even soft porn no more. It's just straight up porn. You know, and this is how they are destroying the minds and having people to become indoctrinated and to not see with a biblical worldview, but to accept these so-called social norms that are set up, you know, within this society today. And this is why this world is coming to an end. But these things are nothing new, because we read about in the ancients how this worshiping in the groves. We read about this in the Old Testament, how the women, you know, put up curtains. Here Israel was, the Hebrew Israelites were a chosen people. They was pulled out. You know, if you look at Abraham, Abraham was out of Babylon. God pulled him out. You know, they became the Hebrew Israelites to be an example in the world where the whole world was in sin. They were supposed to be that light that shine and pointed to the true God, because all of this false worship, you know, of these pagan gods was going on. But what happened? Satan got a foothold and they started wanting to be like the other nations around them, and that was their downfall. Well, during those times and today, as I stated before, the worshiping in the groves was these acts that was going on with these men. And you know what I'm saying, not trying to be too graphic. But they had temple prostitutes back then. Even when you go to the Greeks and look at Greek history, the Hellenistic practices, you know, we see in the movie The 300, but what they did not tell in the movie The 300, when he went out and became, you know, this great Greek warrior, one of the practices that they did was dominating these young men, you know, in these practices, you know. Even when you go to Hitler and you look at the brown shirts, the parents used to hide their children in cabinets when they came through the towns because they was looking for these young boys, you know. Yes, my friend, this stuff is deep and it goes way back to the ancients. As I've been saying time and time again, this is spiritual warfare. What about when Saul fell in battle? When he was hit with the sword and he asked his armor bearer to fall on him with the sword, and the armor bearer was terrified because this is something that you just do not do. But let's look at what Saul said in 1 Samuel chapter 31 verse 4. This is what he said to his armor bearer. Then said Saul unto his armor bearer, draw thy sword and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through and abuse me. But his armor bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. Okay, sorry about that. I got cut off again. I need me a new memory card. Okay, so as I was saying, Saul did not want to be abused by the uncircumcised, these pagan nations around him. And what have we witnessed during Arab Spring? When they finally caught up with Gaddafi and they killed him, what was reported? We saw that they had shot him and he was stumbling about. I think they shot him in the head, but he had not passed yet. But when he finally fell, what did they do? They sodomized that man. These people are sick. These people don't believe that there is nothing wrong with these perverse practices that they are engaging in. I did a video not too long ago about this guy who was arrested, and his thing was that turned him on was the raping of babies. I know, my friends, this lets you know just where we are in the stream of time. We are in the last days. You wonder how much more sick can it get? Lord have mercy. But I'm not going to continue on with this. I just wanted to give you some insight as to why KJB has ruled in such a fashion on these cases that dealt with child molestation, and how she looked upon these people with sympathy because she see nothing wrong, as she has stated that these 18, I think it was a case with an 18-year-old where she said this was this man Piers. Mind you, these cases had infants up to 8-year-olds, and they left out a lot of the gruesome details. As you can imagine, a little baby, little children whose bodies are not fully developed, a grown man trying to have sexual intercourse with a child. That is very traumatic. Okay, you guys, I'm pretty sure you get the picture. No need for me to continue to stress and state anymore on that disgusting, heinous practice that is going on in our world. All around us, this child sex trafficking rings are being caught and brought to justice. Thank God for that. We cannot afford to have someone like Ketanji Jackson Brown on the Supreme Court. But we know why Biden picked her. Number one, there was a lobby for her to be put on the court. But as we are witnessing right now, as they are finally admitting this laptop and the damaging things that are on this laptop, it is very possible that Hunter Biden is getting ready to be indicted. So what other way to get his son a lenient what I'm trying to say ruling on all the indiscretions and criminal acts that's on that laptop is to have somebody like KJB on the Supreme Court. Okay, my friends, that was my 2 cents. It was a little bit more than 2 cents. It might have been 5 or 10 cents, but that's how I'm going to end it. Do your research, stay prayed up, and that's how you stay informed and not to be lulled to sleep into being a sheep. Stop allowing them to tell you what to think. Get back to learning how to think by doing your own research. All right, I will see you on the next one, and I'm out.